Hey, this is a response to aGameScout's new video, and I don't know if this is gonna go on my Instagram or maybe even on my second channel, or if I'm just gonna send it to him, but if you don't know, aGameScout is part of the Tetris community, and yes, competitive Tetris is a big thing. And there's a lot of new revelations in how to press buttons on the NES controller faster that I am involved with. Now, I wanted to thank you for that video. I had a smile ear to ear the whole time. And real quick, for the people who have no idea what I'm talking about. So, in competitive Tetris, there has been two ways to play up until very recently. The first strategy is to hold down the controller, this is called DAS, and let the game move the pieces over for you. This is how you would play Tetris casually. But there are hyper tappers, which is the second way to play, where they just tap the button faster than the game would move it, which is really, really difficult. And I did a video a year ago with Jonas Neubauer where I mentioned that that seems like a really inefficient way, and I tried to use multiple fingers, but it just didn't seem possible. And there's a recent revelation to make that, well, I'll just get into it. I knew it. I really did. Like, one of the first conversations I had with Jonas was, I know there's a better way to hyper tap. I don't know what it is, but like, and maybe I said this in the video, I don't remember, but I remember telling him, like, when I look at hyper tapping as a guitar player and guitar teacher, my gut response is like, that is really inefficient technique. There's gotta be another way to do it, but I couldn't figure it out in the time that I had, or if I would ever figure it out. But moving the rolling to the bottom, genius. Absolutely genius. So I have some thoughts on it, and I don't know if they're even going to be useful, but from just seeing you do it, I have a few inputs as a bass player mostly, to use some techniques that really help in bass playing that I feel would work here, but I don't really know for sure. But I'd like to add them into the conversation. Again, thank you so much for the video. That was awesome. So yeah, I am terrible at Tetris, so just throw that out there. I can play bass. That's, stringed instruments are my expertise, but there's a few things here I'm seeing. So when you were doing the rolling, I see you doing this, and maybe this is the best way for NES Tetris. I've said that a lot, but when it comes to playing stringed instruments and doing a similar type of technique, you almost never want to do this. You almost never want your fingers to be this way pretty much ever when you're striking a string, or maybe in some like types of, percussion. But when you want to ricochet, which I think in this case you do, you never really want it like this. If you're hitting something with your finger like that, you're losing a lot of energy, and it can be a bit more efficient. If, just as you said, by playing piano technique, you always want them, kind of like, with guitar, I'll often use like imagine you were holding like a ball, like you want your fingers to be like that, and striking the strings, or in this case, striking the controller that way is going to get you more force, and you're not going to lose some of it like that. And when you're going at high speeds, losing a little bit of that energy is going to make a big difference. Another thing that I wanted to add, because I am seeing a lot of people doing that, is I want to also add to, how can I put this? I can't even think of it in music terms, but it's just something you really do when you play bass and you're striking strings, is you want to flick the string. Like, you hit it and you pull it, and then you get to the edge and let it fling back. And that gives you a ricochet. So as you see, if I put this here, you can see it's, well, let me do it a little bit better. You can see the NES controller really isn't moving that much. But if I move it right to the end, and I press in and let it flick on the way down, you can see I'm getting it to move a lot more. Might be hard to see in this. Also, I'm not a Tetris player, but like on the bass, you want to bring the string down and then flick it out. And then you get a lot more power from the same amount of strike. And I think that could apply here too. So use 3 fingers. Also, I think if you wanted to learn this rolling technique, I think it would really make sense to practice to a metronome so that all your hits are nice and consistent. That'll help you get a lot faster, and then you can practice that way by bringing the speed up. And if you're doing that, then you're just right in line with triplets on a bass, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You want to get that nice in time if you want to really, really go fast. And then obviously in music, you always want to be in time, but in here, it's also just going to help people's speed if they do it in time. So triplets, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then instead of just doing it right on the bottom, if you can get it right on the edge and get that flick so that it comes right back, I imagine that would really help with speed as well, because now the controller is going back back to that position, and that should help the button release and get you right back on it. So, ooh, I wish I had this plugged in. I don't have NES Tetris. Also, there's no way I'd be able to do this while also figuring out where the pieces go. But yeah, if there's someone who is like a metal bass player who also plays Tetris, they're about to dominate. Thanks again to the aGameScout. Yeah, this is just so cool. So best of luck. Can't wait to see how fast people can go with these. Actually, let me show you what I'm emulating here, because I'm not done talking about this. So basically, what I'm trying to do on the side of the NES controller is this. The same technique that you learn to go really, really fast with fingerstyle on bass. And that's instead of, hitting the string and then getting away from it, like, pressing a button and then using the muscles in your fingers to bring it off, it's kind of like a roll. So you go through the strings, just like I was saying with the NES controller. You just get your finger into there, press into the string, and then it flings off. And then in kind of a roll, you keep it as one motion with one finger rather than hit, go off, hit, go off. It's a constant movement. So I'm doing exactly that, just on the side of the NES controller. And I imagine that will give you the same ricochet that I was talking about. And I think another thing I wanted to mention is hyper tappers practicing to go really fast. I think they should also, or they would have better, they would get more results more quickly if they practice to a metronome and try to get a rhythm to it, those triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Because you'll go the fastest when there's an equal amount of time between each hit. That's how you're going to maximize your speed. So I think working up with a metronome with triplets would be the best way to do it. If you can get like with stringed instruments, we've never really been able to put your pinky in there. Actually, because the pinky and the ring finger are kind of attached as far as the tendons that use it go. I don't know if that's the exact, but you don't have the same power in your pinky. So even when you're doing like quarter notes or in groups of 4, bass players will still use the 3. So yeah, you can do that on an NES controller. And I don't know, I might have already mentioned the metronome thing. It's like well past midnight here. I just saw aGameScout's video and was just really excited about it. So, because I think there's a lot of transfer. People have been playing stringed instruments for a really, really long time, and this is how we found to go as fast as possible. And I think you could use that same technique on the NES controller. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. If you're watching this and you don't know about competitive Tetris, you should check it out. You would not believe how fast these players go. And once they start doing this type of stuff, oh man, sky's the limit. I mean, already they're just with hyper tapping going so fast. So I think that's all I have to say. I think that's all the input I have to give. Rest in peace, Jonas. We love you so much. See you at CTWC.